Would you jeopardize all that you cherish to uphold your beliefs? Barron Trump just took action and the outcomes were remarkable. The morning air was brisk and refreshing in Arlington, Texas on that Saturday. The local soccer field thrummed with excitement as players stretched and prepared, parents exchanged lively conversations on the sidelines, and coaches issued their directives with fervor. Among them was Barron Trump, standing tall at 6 feet 7 inches, outshining most of his teammates, even at just 17 years old. Calm and introspective, Barron chose to let his actions on the field speak for themselves. Today, however, his presence captivated attention for an entirely different reason. A vivid crimson MAGA hat sat atop his head as he sprinted onto the field. Barron dismissed it without a second thought. For him, the hat served merely as a means of conveying his opinions, a detail he considered insignificant within the confines of his own space. As he set foot on that field, the very air around him transformed. Teammates shared knowing looks, parents in the stands murmured quietly, and Coach Dan Callahan, recognized for his intense demeanor and firm stance on maintaining a separation between politics and athletics, swiftly focused on the hat. Coach Callahan entered the field with determination, his voice slicing through the murmur of conversation. "Barron," he beckoned, gesturing for him to come closer. The remainder of the group halted, feeling the strain in the air. Barron sprinted toward the coach, who stood with arms crossed, his expression a blend of irritation and incredulity. "What's the deal with the hat?" Callahan inquired directly, his voice cutting through the air. Barron gave a nonchalant shrug. "It's merely a hat, coach." Callahan's gaze sharpened. "This arena is not suited for political declarations. You're aware of the guidelines, no discussions on politics, no exceptions allowed. However, my intention is not to convey a message." Barron responded, his tone steady yet resolute. "That's simply my essence." The coach's tolerance began to dwindle. "Remove it or you're out of the team," he commanded. A stillness enveloped the field. Barron surveyed his surroundings, acutely aware of the multitude of gazes fixed upon him. He paused, his fingers lightly grazing the edge of the cap. Then, to everyone's astonishment, he stood tall and declared, "If that's the way it is, coach, I'll take my leave." In silence, Barron pivoted and made his way to the parking lot, leaving his bewildered teammates and the remainder of the field in his wake. The murmurs from the sidelines intensified, and the coach, briefly taken aback, muttered a few words under his breath before restoring order to the practice. Yet, that was not the conclusion of the tale. Barron was not the type to yield without a fight. As Barron exited the field, his heart raced with intensity. He found himself uncertain whether it stemmed from anger, humiliation, or the tumult of emotions churning within his chest. He slid into his car, fingers clenched around the steering wheel, the coach's words echoing in his mind relentlessly. The parking lot lay in an unsettling hush, a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos of the field behind him, where existence continued unabated, indifferent to his presence. At home, it wasn't long before the conversation emerged. Melania, always vigilant, felt a sense of worry. "What happened out there?" she inquired softly, observing Barron's unusually silent demeanor as he entered the room. Barron paused for a moment, then laid out the entire story. The way Coach Callahan confronted him, the ultimatum presented, and the choice he made to step away. Melania's brow furrowed, her discontent palpable as Donald absorbed her words, his demeanor growing increasingly stern with each passing moment. "That's simply not acceptable," Donald stated with conviction. "No one has the right to silence you in such a manner." Barron lifted a hand to halt him. He spoke softly, expressing his desire to avoid turning this into a spectacle. "I simply wish to engage in a game of soccer." Yet, the news traveled fast. In just a few hours, parents on the team began exchanging whispers in group chats while the local high school community hummed with conflicting viewpoints. Some believed Barron was displaying a certain obstinacy. His principles garnered admiration from others. Before long, a photo of him striding away from the field, his hat still perched confidently on his head, captured the attention of social media and went viral. The response was immediate. Coach Callahan received accolades from some for upholding the no politics rule, yet others criticized him for overreaching and using Barron as a cautionary tale. The comments section became a fierce arena of conflict. This child must understand that the world does not revolve around him. It's commendable that he held firm in his beliefs. The importance of expressing oneself cannot be overstated. However, Barron was not perusing the comments. His mind was set on a singular pursuit, unraveling what lay ahead. As time went by, the void left by his absence on the team became increasingly palpable. Though he often kept to himself, Barron played an essential role not only for his talent but also for the tranquility he infused into a typically anxious team. Without him, practices carried an air of tension. Whispers circulated among the teammates regarding the incident, with some grappling with feelings of guilt for their silence. Some expressed concern that they could be the next targets of Callahan's disciplinary actions. Coach Callahan, however, remained steadfast. Rules are rules, he stated firmly to a parent who approached him after practice one evening. If I allow one individual to shatter them, at what point does it end? Yet, beneath the facade, fissures were starting to emerge, and Barron still had more to reveal. The days that followed the incident proved to be more challenging than Barron had anticipated. Soccer transcended mere play for him. It became a sanctuary, a realm where he could liberate his thoughts and immerse himself in the cadence of the match. With that outlet vanished, he experienced an unusual void each afternoon when practice would typically take place. The ambience at school felt distinct. A few students kept their distance, uncertain about their position regarding the matter. Support was murmured among the others. A handful, emboldened by the cloak of anonymity, ridiculed him in the corridors and across social media platforms. Winner A post featured Barron alongside a poorly edited image of him donning a MAGA hat and clutching a trophy inscribed with "Most Political Player." Barron attempted to brush it off, yet it pierced him deeply. This level of attention was unfamiliar to him. He had no desire for it. It felt like every action of his was under a microscope, and regardless of his intentions, there was always someone poised to distort it to their advantage. One evening, he found himself in his room gazing intently at the red hat resting on his desk. The unassuming piece of fabric appeared to possess a vitality all its own, bearing a burden he had not foreseen. He reflected on his father's words that no one possessed the authority to stifle his voice. Yet he pondered the coach's regulations, questioning if he had erred in donning it initially. Melania rapped gently on his door. "Barron," she said softly, "you don't have to bear this burden by yourself. Opinions will always abound, yet it's essential to determine what resonates with you." Her words lingered in the atmosphere, echoing even after she had departed. Barron contemplated all that surrounded him. The camaraderie of his teammates, the passion for the sport he cherished, and the powerful message he aimed to convey. Gradually, a concept started to take shape, becoming more defined with each day that went by. Yet, advocating for his convictions would require more than merely a notion. It would require initiative. Barron's determination grew stronger throughout a sleepless night as he grappled with the unsettling notion that simply turning his back wasn't sufficient. The following morning, he retrieved a notebook and began to scribble his reflections, contemplating the significance of the coach's rule, the essence of soccer in his life, and how he might react in a way that wouldn't foster further division. He dedicated countless hours to exploring the narratives of fellow athletes who had encountered criticism for their self-expression. He explored the stories of Jackie Robinson, Colin Kaepernick, and even high school athletes who bravely confronted injustice in their communities. Their bravery ignited a spark within him, yet Barron yearned to carve his own path. Something that would not only capture attention but also promote comprehension and togetherness. After school one day, Barron walked up to his longtime friend Taylor, a teammate who had always been there for him. "I require your assistance," Barron stated, presenting the notebook brimming with sketches and concepts. "I am planning to arrange a charity game." Taylor's eyebrows arched in surprise. "A game for a good cause? Who are we up against?" "Anyone who's willing to join in," Barron said with a smile. "The focus isn't on the victor. It's about demonstrating that sports have the power to unite individuals rather than divide them." Taylor gave a slow nod. "Do you believe the coach will take that chance?" Barron stated with conviction, "I'm not asking him. This is not focused on him. It surpasses that." The following week unfolded like a tempest. Barron and Taylor contacted local businesses for sponsorships, created flyers, and shared announcements on social media. The concept gained traction rapidly. Those who had remained quiet during the event started to come forward, extending their support. Even some parents who had initially supported the coach changed their stance when they witnessed Barron's unwavering determination. The event gathered steam as local news outlets began to cover the story. "A teenager removed from the soccer team takes the initiative to organize a unity game," one headline proclaimed. Barron experienced a blend of pride and unease as the day drew near. What if nobody came? What if it doesn't succeed? The momentum had become irresistible, and the day of the game loomed as a pivotal moment that no one could have foreseen. The day of the charity game dawned, infused with a palpable tension that lingered in the atmosphere. The arena, previously the heart of the clash, now thrummed with anticipation. A modest assembly formed in the early hours, comprising students, parents, and a few unfamiliar faces from the community. Snacks and drinks were generously provided by local businesses, while a banner proudly displayed across the bleachers proclaimed unity through sports. Barron showed up an hour ahead of schedule, lugging boxes filled with jerseys he had borrowed from a nearby league. As soon as he exited the car, he caught sight of Taylor sprinting in his direction. "You won't believe this," Taylor exclaimed, breathless. "The coach has arrived." Barron stood still. There stood Coach Callahan at the edge of the field, arms crossed, observing the preparations with a keen eye. For a fleeting instant, Barron sensed his determination falter. Would this lead to yet another clash? He inhaled deeply, resolving to concentrate on what truly counted, ensuring the game's success. As the players prepared, Barron observed the remarkable diversity within the group. Those who had remained quiet during the event were now sharing laughter and camaraderie with athletes from rival schools and even local pickup games. A cluster of little ones chased a ball on the sidelines, their parents beaming with pride as they watched the playful scene unfold. As the game kicked off, the atmosphere was charged with excitement. The players poured their hearts into the game, yet the ambience remained cheerful and carefree. Each objective was celebrated with enthusiastic applause from the audience, and even minor errors were greeted with good-natured chuckles. Barron performed as if he had a point to make. Not to the coach, not to the crowd, but to his own inner self. After weeks of absence, he rediscovered the joy of soccer. During the halftime break, Barron spoke to the audience. In the center of the field, microphone grasped firmly, he poured out his soul with every word. "Sports ought to unite individuals rather than create divisions among them. We each carry unique beliefs and come from diverse backgrounds, yet in this space we are simply participants. That is what truly holds significance." The sound of applause filled the air, overwhelming in its intensity. Even Coach Callahan, who had been observing quietly, offered a subtle nod of approval. However, the true astonishment unfolded following the game. As the audience started to thin out, Coach Callahan made his way over to Barron. "For 2 decades I've been coaching," he started, his voice rough yet gentle. "I've witnessed many players pass through, but what you accomplished today is truly unprecedented." Barron was at a loss for words. He merely nodded, his previous frustration with the coach dissolving into a sense of comprehension. "You've got courage, kid," Callahan added. "Maintain that momentum." For the first time, it seemed as though a bridge had been constructed rather than destroyed. Yet, the genuine effects of Barron's actions were only starting to resonate throughout the community. In the weeks that followed the charity game, the impact of Barron's actions became unmistakable. The event was highlighted by local news outlets as a beacon of togetherness amid a backdrop of discord. The front page of the Arlington Gazette featured the headline, "Teen Athlete Sparks Community Movement Through Soccer." Individuals who were not present at the game started to circulate photos and videos online, amplifying Barron's message well beyond his local community. The school community, previously fractured by the incident, started to unite. Students who had previously ridiculed Barron in the hallways came forward to express their apologies, with some even acknowledging their admiration for his bravery. During class discussions, educators highlighted the charity game, illustrating it as a prime example of leadership and the strength found in advocating for one's convictions. However, the most unexpected transformation emerged from Coach Callahan himself. One afternoon, as Barron exited the school grounds, the coach approached him with purpose. "I've been reflecting deeply on the events that transpired," Callahan remarked, his tone unusually gentle. "I believed I was safeguarding the team by upholding that rule, yet perhaps I overlooked what truly matters." Barron found himself at a loss for words initially. "It wasn't easy for me either," he finally responded. "I aim to demonstrate that we can hold varying beliefs while maintaining mutual respect." The coach considered deeply. "I aim to get it just right. If you're open to it, I would love to have you rejoin the team." Barron paused, not out of reluctance to go back, but because he had transformed in ways he had not anticipated. The game still held significance for him, yet he now perceived it as a means to a greater purpose. "I'll consider it, coach," he replied with a faint smile. "Regardless, I am grateful for it." The lesson imparted by Barron remained etched in the minds of the community. Motivated by the triumph of the charity game, the school arranged comparable events, each fostering a sense of community among participants. Barron discovered that he was stepping into the role of an unexpected leader, not only during games but also in everyday life, as he became a source of guidance and inspiration for those around him. Ultimately, that was what Barron cherished above all else. It wasn't the headlines or the applause that mattered, but the understanding that he had truly made an impact. He transformed a moment of discord into a catalyst for empathy, demonstrating that even when the challenges appear overwhelming, advocating for your convictions can ignite transformation. And that's the insight we can all embrace. Always recognize the impact of your voice regardless of how insignificant it might appear. If this tale resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and accompany us for more compelling narratives like this one.